We looked at the DZO Pictor zooms back in late August, and they have proven themselves to be a very popular set of affordable cinema zooms, and zooms are what DZO has focused on in the past. However, today we are looking at their first step into the Cine Prime space. These are the DZO Vespid Primes. 2020 has been an unreal year for kit releases, and DZO are looking to capitalise on their successful Pictor Zoom series with their new Vespid full-frame Cine Prime series. DZO has stated that the lenses have been named Vespid because they are nimble and agile like a wasp. At release, the Vespid series will consist of a 25, 35, 50, 75, 90 macro, 100 and 125mm, with a 60mm coming out later, which should be available in spring 2021. Bringing the set to 8 lenses. Unfortunately, we don't have the 90mm T2.8 macro with us today to look at, but we are excited to get it in and see how it performs. Physically, the lenses are actually really compact, especially compared to other full-frame cinema lenses. However, this will be partly due to their T2.1 aperture, which is by no means slow, but not fast like some of the other options on the market. The lenses have a fairly consistent size, with 3 lenses being 87mm long, 3 being 100mm long, and the 90mm macro being 112mm. They also have similar weights, with the lightest being 732 grams and the heaviest being 940 grams. This is great for people wanting to spend less time rebalancing when switching lenses. Each lens has a front diameter for clip-on matte boxes of 80mm and a filter thread of 77mm. It's good to have the same front diameter across all the lenses, so you can easily switch your matte box, and a thread is always nice to have for super lightweight configurations. The mechanics feel incredibly solid with smooth and consistent iris and focus rotations. Talking of focus rotations, each lens features standard 0.8 pitch gears on both the iris and focus barrels, and a 270-degree focus throw, apart from the macro, which is slightly longer at 300 degrees. These gears are also positioned in the same place across each lens, so you don't have to move your gears when switching lenses. They all feature close focuses that make sense with the focal lengths and format size that we are looking at. You can see them here. As with the fantastic Pictor zooms, you have the ability to swap the mount between PL or EF. However, this won't be available at release, so be sure to pick up the main mount you want to use when you order, and keep an eye out for when DZO release the mount separately. I do wish, however, that the spare mounts were included like they were with the Pictors, but this was a luxury as not many other lenses at this price point come with them. We managed to take a couple of shots with the 35 and 50mm on our red Komodo during our recent shoot with the FX6, which you can check out via the link in the description. But here are a few selects from our time out shooting with them. They handled well on camera and balanced well with the Komodo. They definitely lean more towards arty and imperfect than clinical. Whether you think this looks nice or not is completely subjective. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and let's move on to some more controlled tests. All of these tests have been shot on the FX9 in its full frame mode in XAVCI, S-Log3, S-Gamma3 Cine. We're going to speed our way through these tests, so hit pause if you want a closer look. Each lens in the Vespid set features a 16-blade iris, but how does the bokeh actually look? Well, across the set, pretty much each lens's bokeh has very defined edges, and this means that the background is rendered with more texture, which is an aesthetical choice. 25 through to 75mm feature green aberration, which is slightly more controlled on the 100 and 125mm. The 25 has a defined outline with green and red and purple aberrations. Shape is decently round, wide open, with a little bit of cutting. However, at T2.8 onwards, bokeh is shaped well. The 35mm wide open has a little bit of cutting, which goes at T2.8 as well. It also has a little bit of texture to it. The 50mm wide open and at T2.8 has cutting with better shape towards the center of frame. It also features a little bit of texture to it. The 75mm again has cutting wide open and at T2.8, and shape gets better at T4, and again it has a little bit of texture to it. The 100 and 125mm behave similarly, with cutting wide open and at T2.8 again, with better shape at T4 and less texture than the previous lenses. When it comes to flare, the lenses are fairly consistent throughout the set. 25, 35 and 50 all behave very similarly, with starring starting at t5.6, which goes past this focal length. The 75mm doesn't have the same starring, but it does have a slight circular flare through t2.1 to 5.6. The 100mm has more subtle flare again, and the 125mm has a bit more character than the rest of the set, with flares across the frame. Overall, I like the look of these flares for the most part. Looking at distortion throughout the focal range, the 25 and 35mm both suffer from pretty heavy barrel distortion. The 50 and 75 both have barrel distortion still, but much less, and the 100 and 125mm both control distortion very well. Breathing across the entire focal range is really good. There is definitely some breathing on some of the focal lengths, however the 75, 100 and 125mm have almost none, which is really impressive. It's just great performance all round. The Vespids have a rated image circle of 46.5mm, which is enough to cover most full-frame sensors on the market at the moment. We've added these onto our tool, so if you want to see how they will cover your camera sensor, head over via the link in the description. However, throughout the range, coverage is pretty great. So great that you could potentially use them on the Alexa 65. However, after viewing these on our Crosio projector, things do get a little funky out in the corners towards this part of the image circle. However, if you wanted to use these on any regular full frame sensor, you will have no trouble with coverage, and all the lenses have pretty consistent illumination across the board, with only some fall off towards the corners, but not too much. The 25, 35, 50 and 75 all suffer from pretty heavy chromatic aberration, even when stopped down to t5.6. You can still see red, green and blue aberration across a range of the frame. However, the 100 and 125mm handle this much better than the rest of the set. When it comes to overall rendering performance is quite similar across the whole set. In the center, each lens renders detail well, but they do drop off heavily towards the corners when below t5.6. However, on camera, this could be quite a nice look for some. At t5.6, the lenses get some bite with good performance across the frame. Overall, the DZO Vespid Primes are a solid budget option for people wanting a compact, decently built set of full-frame primes. However, their optical performance makes them lean more towards arty and imperfect than clinical. So if this is a style you like, these are worth taking a look at. You can find pricing and availability via the links in the description below, and while you're there, let us know what you think of the DZO Vespid Cine Primes in the comments. Make sure to hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.